Welcome back, folks. This is another episode of it's
Another one.
another one
Mhm.
of It's About Payroll, which may be a crossover to It's About Your Paycheck. We
Yep.
have a really cool guest on tonight that was actually a re-recording. We had some technical difficulties in the past and we had to redo it, but we wanted to bring him back because he has like interesting info if you're starting a or you're like a business owner, or if you ever,
Mhm.
entrepreneurial type deal. Before we
Definitely.
get all into that, what's good, Walt? What's going on?
Man, I am good. I am grateful to live in this gratitude and just be, good. And just glad to be here connected with you, man. How's it going, bro? How are you? How's the studying going?
Studying is good. Guys, it's yeah, no, it's good. Some parts are tougher than others to like
Mhm.
get through. Like, oh crap, this is a little, take it's time consuming. But man, shout out to the people who are doing it and they've only been in the game for a year or two.
Yep.
I couldn't even see like taking the definitely. So there's something very, I don't think this is a bad thing. I'm not calling anybody out, but warning and heads up to folks who are going to or interested in pay train and things like that. Content is good, but the test is like you need to study the content before you get to the test. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
So
that's a good
Uh,
nugget there.
welcoming today, we have Marshall, I believe, Lebovitz, right? Because I remembered
Correct.
today we're,
You got it right.
yeah, thank you, sir. Today we're diving into the world of growth capital with a guest who knows exactly how to unlock hidden cash inside your business. With years of lending expertise, our guest helps fast growing companies secure working capital and equipment financing without giving up equity. From helping clients that made the Inc. 5000 list to fueling 400% revenue growth, he's a powerhouse in strategic funding solutions. If you've got receivables, inventory, or equipment, this episode is your blueprint for turning them into real opportunity. Let's welcome Marshall Lebovitz. How you doing,
Gentlemen,
sir?
thanks so much. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no,
You're right, Mark, but
and yeah, we were chatting a little before you got on, and we said this is a re-record. We could had technical difficulties, but we love the content so much that we just had to have you back. It's important for businesses, entrepreneurial folks, even payroll impact. So it is relevant. And we do two shows, right? We do It's About Payroll and It's About Your Paycheck. So we're gonna put this on both platforms, and it's just I remember all of the good nuggets that came out of it, and we hopefully recapture that magic in this recording.
yes.
Yeah, I always come with magic.
That's right. Oh, I love that. I love that.
It's on the
Marshall
packaging. Magic, magic, nuggets of wisdom.
That's right.
Yep.
So you know basic stuff like share a little bit about your background and how you got into this world of growth capital and strategic lending.
Absolutely. My background is 35 years of lending experience working for large commercial lenders as an independent loan advisor to small and growing businesses. I started off, working in corporate finance at Federal Express, worked for aircraft financing arm of McDonnell Douglas. I years working for large leasing companies in both domestic markets. I've worked 5 years in commercial banking. Sandwiched in between on both sides, I worked as a trusted advisor to growing companies who wanted to raise capital without relinquishing ownership sales. And so about 8 years ago, I transitioned from commercial banking in search of my current professional challenge, if you know, option. Since then, I've been working with a lot of early stage growing companies whose revenues range from, I'd say at the low end, about 2 million all the way up to 50 million of annual revenue. But notwithstanding that, I've got a client right now that's an $8 million revenue client, helping them raise working.
Wow.
So, I work with a wide variety of industries, everything from consumer packaged goods to healthcare staffing, IT, telecom. My current client is the automotive parts distribution business. So it's exciting, and what they all have in common is they're all trying to solve a working capital problem. The reason they've got a problem is because they've got a lot of cash tied up in receivables
Wow.
You don't discriminate, right? Do you? If somebody, doesn't matter what industry they are in, if they have the working capital, if they have the criteria, you're going to help them, right?
Well, I'll
Right.
try, right?
That's
I'm
what I meant.
industry agnostic. I've
There you
actually got
go.
a phone call last week from a company that is making a single malt whiskey.
Ooh.
And they were looking for some financing for the liquid in the barrels. So it's a little different than most tasks that I've taken on, but we're in discussions to see if I might help.
There you go.
Okay.
I mean,
Awesome.
if numbers work, they work, right?
Yeah.
Well, Marshall, in terms of, okay, let me say this then. Exactly what is growth capital, and how does that differ from traditional loans and our venture capital?
Yeah, so I like to distinguish capital in two ways. Either what I call dilutive, meaning that you're giving up some of your shares in return for somebody investing in your company, or it's non-dilutive, in that you are accessing capital from sources who aren't requiring transfer or give them any of the shares in the business. Within both of those, it can be growth capital, right? Equity can be growth capital, can be. So the real key for me is, what are you trading that for? Part of your company or not a part of your? And so that's how I look at it.
Okay.
You mentioned debt. Like I've been hearing that lately. And do you know? Like, is there an easy definition for debt financing? Is there an easy way to explain it?
Yes, debt financing is basically when someone provides you with the expectation and the requirement that you're going to pay them back the full amount of the principal plus interest. Now, you asked about venture capital and how is that different, right? Because I've heard everything from venture capital to debt. I consider both of those dilutive type of funding for a company, and basically with venture capital, it means that they invested in your company, and their expectation, hope, is that you're going to be wildly successful. The company will be sold. They're going to share in, right? So that's what makes it. It's growth money, but it's diluted money, whether it's venture capital or equity, or whether it's venture debt, where they've structured it to look like a loan, but it comes with some sort of warrants or options cover that gives them that juice, that little kicker that helps them enjoy the ride and share your success.
Okay.
Interesting. All right. So let's see, for businesses that are growing fast, what are some of the early signs they should be seeking funding solutions?
I always tell people, I got asked this question recently
Oh.
by somebody else, and they said, when should we call you?
Exactly.
And the answer is yesterday, right? You should call me sooner than later if you want to talk about options. But here's some of the pain that I typically hear from companies. It's a good measure of whether or not it can of help. I'm out of money. I don't have cash. I've made a lot of revenue, but I don't have cash to pay my bill. Or I don't have cash to cover my next production run of inventory. Or I'm trying to raise equity and I'm not able to get anybody to write me a check, right? Because the equity markets have experienced a lot of distress the last 24 months. So there's not as much money available for certain sectors of the market when it comes to equity investment. So there's a lot of questions that, pain points, usually has to do with out of money, right? That's the big, no one calls me and says, hey, where can I store these pallets, merchandise in a warehouse so that, I can get them to market sooner. Need help with the reason they call me is that about to run.
Gotcha. So, specialized.
But
No, you want to say something
But
else?
I was going to say that I want to hit a but here.
Yeah.
And the but is, but it's typically they're calling me because they're out of cash and they're growing. I'm out of cash because I haven't been able to execute on my business plan. Not a great. or I'm going out of business, or something's happened. I'm usually focused on companies and growth.
Gotcha. So that kind of segues to my next question. You specialize in unlocking cash in like from receivables and inventory equipment. Could you walk us through how that works in practice?
Absolutely. When you're utilizing what I call asset-based financing, typically a lender is going to establish a formula tied to your receivables and your inventory. So if you've got receivables that total $100,000 and all of those receivables are from customers who are creditworthy, who don't have a track record of a lot of disputes or a lot of turns or a lot of discounts after the fact, a lender may say, I'll lend you up to 85% of the value of those receivables. And in turn, for inventory that you have in the warehouse, assuming that it's all finished goods, they might lend you up to 50% of the cost of those finished goods. It gets tricky sometimes.
Yeah, because that was a loaded statement there.
Yeah, so 50% of value of the finished goods is often what they'll give you maximum, but then there may be other limitations they put on that where they may only lend you $1 on inventory for every dollar you have outstanding your receivable. Or it could be that, well, we'll lend you 50% of the value of your inventory so long as the inventory component doesn't exceed a certain dollar amount. Like if I've got a $2 million line of credit, they may say, but your limit on inventory is $500,000, right? Regardless of how much you have, I'm only going to lend you $500,000. Or they might come at you and say, yeah, and on top of that, we may reduce the amount based on what it's appraised at, regardless of what you have on books. So there's all kinds of ways that a lender may kind of tighten up borrowing availability. But the bottom line is in asset-based financing, the lender is going to give you a percentage of your collateral. It's going to determine what your loan is at any time.
Wow.
Another key factor is that these loans can be revolving, right? Just like your credit card, right? So you have a $100,000 limit, you borrow 50, 25,000 gets paid back. As long as you have sufficient collateral, you can reload the loan, if you will, and borrow it again up to the value of the approved value of your collateral for it.
Very cool. So why is it important for businesses to preserve equity during growth, and how does your model support that? I mean, you kind of touched on how your model supports it, but why is it important for businesses to preserve equity?
At the end of the day, if you're growing the company for an exit, in other words, to sell it to a third party, the question that you're always asking yourself is, do I want 100% of a small pie, or do I want 50% a really big pie?
Yep.
So you just have to know how big that really big pie is, right? So to the extent that if you didn't take in any outside cash, you could only grow your company to, say, a $10 million company with $1 million of net income. Maybe you can sell that company for $5 million, right? 5 times, just as an example.
Right.
But what if you could take in some outside money, scale the business, and instead of a $10 million company, you could have a $150 million company with the same profitability, right? On 150 million, let's say you had 15 million of profitability, and you could sell that for a multiple of 6 times income or cash flow. Now all of a sudden you've got a much bigger pie.
Yep.
Wow.
So that's the trade-off you're making when you take equity, is that you're giving up some of your ownership, right? Maybe you've cut your ownership down from 100% to 33%, but it's 33% of a much bigger pie.
Yeah.
And so you'll be able to buy the nicer house, the boat, send your kids to a really expensive college.
So let me ask you, Marshall, are there some common misconceptions that business owners have about working capital loans, the asset-based funding that you mentioned, or equipment financing?
I think the biggest misconception borrowers have in general is if I'm told no by a bank, there's nowhere else to get funded. Right? One of the big things that I like to talk about is alignment, right? Making sure that you don't just get any lender, you get a lender who's aligned with your goals, who you are from a risk profile perspective, right? Look, even if one bank tells you no, it doesn't mean that another bank is also going to tell you no. It may have been they had portfolio limitations on lending any more money to your particular industry. Or maybe you're selling a product that doesn't align with what their interests are, and so you're just not going to qualify. But the bank down the street may not have any of those concerns. So it's really about understanding what is that lender looking for, what do you look like in their eyes, and is there, an alignment of those two visions? And if there are, then you may be able to go to another bank. Now, on the other hand, if you truly aren't bank worthy and you're not a good fit because you're losing money or sales are too heavily concentrated with, a couple of customers, or let's say that you're not doing a good job of collecting your cash, or you haven't raised a lot of money, you don't have any real skin in the game, and so you're not adequately capitalized, then maybe a bank isn't the best place for you. And there are other lenders that might find that risk profile a lot more attractive and might be willing to lend you money, whether it be as a result of tying specific formulas to your collateral, your asset, or maybe they're looking at some other things. So, look, there's different lenders. They're looking for different types of loan opportunities, and your job is to align the one that matches up best with what journey you're on.
Awesome.
Love it. So here's the good call outs that we had. You've helped clients grow revenue 400% and land Inc. 5000 lists. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yes, absolutely. So the one I believe that you're referring to was actually a healthcare staffing company. And I think at the time that, and I had known them for years, and in fact, in their very early years, had actually arranged some small business lines of credit for them. But when they contacted me back in 2020, they had grown at that point to double-digit millions of revenue.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they were already not a small company by some standards. And again, because they were healthcare staffing, their services were highly in demand because it was in the first 6 months of COVID, where the ERs, the ICUs, and all of those departments in the hospitals could not find enough nurses. So the demand for the services of their nurses went through the roof.
Wow.
And hospitals, the ones who are using their services, are typically not paying their own payables, if you will, right? The invoices from the staffing. They might not pay them for anywhere from 65 to 75 days.
Wow.
But guess who wants to be paid every week? The nurses. Because you stop paying the nurses every 7 days,
want to work.
and you won't have any in the ICU when you need folks. And so where the client was, they were with a bank at the time who said they were terminating their revolving line of credit, which was enabling them to payroll.
Wow.
And when my client said, well, why are you cutting us off? They said, well, we're getting out of the healthcare business, which wasn't true. The truth was they were banking with the branch of the bank. And a small branch doesn't really have sophisticated underwriting capabilities to manage a much bigger credit. And rather than promote the client upstairs to the commercial banking or some other division within the bank, they simply said, well, we're getting out of healthcare.
No way.
And
Wow.
and maybe they were. Maybe the
The
branch was
brand,
getting out
right?
of healthcare,
But their parent
but
company.
the parent company was not. The parent company was one of the biggest banks in the
Oh,
world, and so it just wasn't true. And so something got lost in translation, and the company came back to me and said, "We need your help." Within a number of weeks, I was able to replace their $1 million line of credit with one for $1.5 million, and they
nice.
continued to grow so much that the line of credit was scalable. So as their revenues grew and they created more receivables to serve as collateral, we were able to get increases in the line of credit to where it got to a $5 million line of credit within about 18 months.
Wow.
And so the company used that line of credit to grow its revenues by about 400% in that 24-month period of time. So they never missed a payroll. They grew a business that was very profitable. And, I'd like to say that everybody's living happily ever after.
That's right.
There's that magic. Yep. All right.
But there's the magic. So it was knowing, here is the key, right? Let's get back to alignment. It was knowing how to match up the right lender with the right borrower.
Mm,
And that's really what you're looking for when you're trying to fund your business, is not just anybody that'll write a check, but you want somebody to write a check for you whose interests and values and mission is aligned with the journey that you're taking. So that was a great example of helping grow a company using revolving scalable credit. Used it similarly for two other clients who ended up on the Inc. 5,000 fastest private growing list, including a Better For You protein beverage drink
oh, okay.
that, yeah, they were probably also very low double-digit millions. And they were backed by venture capital. Unlike the other company, by the way, the staffing company was privately owned by a single shareholder. The beverage company was owned by venture capital primarily, and they were always looking for ways to grow the pie without putting more money into the pot, right? And so by getting a line of credit, we were able to leverage the company's receivables and inventory. And while they started with about a $2.5 million line of credit, I think that went up over the years to $6.5, $7 million. And their revenues jumped from mid to upper teens. By the time they finished with that line of credit, they were up low 50 million range of revenue and on an annual basis. So again, they made the Inc. 5,000 fastest growing list for a couple of years consecutively
That's awesome.
Amazing. So,
with less dilution.
gotcha. Awesome. Is there one or two things that business owners often overlook when it comes to funding growth?
There's absolutely one or two. There's probably a few more. But here's what I think are some of the keys when I run into clients. The smaller ones just aren't.
There you go. Mhm. Mhm.
Yep.
Wow. Wow.
Wow.
Do you see businesses try to solve everything with equity rather than segmenting funding?
Hmm.
Wow. Thank you.
That's a good. Yeah. So, so to the business owners listening right now are struggling with cash flow, what's their first step they should take? Right. Right. Yep. Yeah, but if you don't use it, if you haven't mapped it and
Yeah.
set it up, it's like payroll, right? You could be paying people all you want, but if you're not tracking that, you can't report on it. Yeah. Yep. Bonuses, reimburse expenses, right? Like there's line items there that matter. Yeah, absolutely. Love it. Well, it
Wow.
depends on who you ask
Yeah, it
because it's
depends.
exciting for me to get that reporting right. That's yeah. Yep. 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 Not reporting. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
And, we're probably victim of that as well because come year end, we're scrambling to get our reporting in order, and we think that we don't have a lot of transactions, and then come year end, me and Walt are like, "Do you got all your transactions?"
So,
So, yep, yep, yeah, yep, love it.
yep. Yeah. So, Marshall, motivates you to do this kind of work. What's your why?
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. You know something. That's awesome. Mm,
The word of the day is aligned. Sorry, much.
yeah. Yep. I love it. All right. Looking ahead now. How do you see the lending business financing landscape evolving in the next few years? Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Wow.
Interesting. I think we're all trying to figure that out, like
You
in our
are.
in our respective industries. Yep. That's
Wow,
really
bro.
interesting.
That is
Well,
the-
I love the insight though. I love the speculation of it, right? Like we did a show on payroll AI speculate. We just speculate like what we
uh,
wanted to do. That was a lot of fun because you can like what dreams may come of the AI of it and the automation possibilities. I
yep.
love it. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
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 You see a
True.
lot of posts now saying, "Oh, the Jetsons predicted the future." And now we have all these things that were in the Jetsons, and it's like, well, it's not that hard to. But yeah, I get it.
Yep.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
The martial magic again. Yep.
Yep. Yep. So before we always like to do a game at the end just to break the seriousness of it all. Anything that you want to share that we may have missed that you want to share with folks, or did you cover it all? Oh, okay, fair. There you go. Awesome.
Awesome. That's great.
All right. Well, you want to get it started and
Oh yeah, this or that. So you can answer one of the other options. You can say neither. You can say both. So here we
just to
go.
have fun.
Yeah. So I have three for you, and then Brian's gonna finish it out with his three. So would you rather have rack of lamb or salmon? Oh, okay. Cool. Oh,
Ooh,
that sounds
yeah,
good.
that sounds good. Oh
There
yeah,
you go. Okay. I
not
need to
the
hear. Hey, we need to go to Marshall's house.
for real.
Right. Would you rather travel by car or airplane? Either one. Okay.
Okay.
And last for me is, do you prefer Excel or Google Sheets?
Yeah, me too. All right, hockey or baseball? Oh gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they are. It's entertaining. Oh,
Say
goodness.
okay. Got it. Got it. Oh, wait, what? Okay, I'm just thinking like when was the last time was it what's your team? Hockey, hockey. LA Kings. Have then when's the last time have they been in playoffs or anything like that?
Man,
Oh.
freaking Edmonton.
Oh wow. Sailing or paragliding? That sound yeah, me too. It's a nay for me. Yeah, I hear that. All right, last one. Email or text? Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. And it's funny because you say that because folks are moving toward text a lot. I mean, it's even happening in HR and in the recruiting space. You see it a lot where you want to reach out to candidates via text. Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Then it go exactly. Agreed. Agreed. So, folks, yes, go on to LinkedIn, Marshall Lebovitz, and check him out. I love it. They're speaking at your LinkedIn, and but you're an outdoors guy, then, no? Oh, awesome. Okay, I see. Ooh, yeah, awesome. I love it. Yeah, check it out, folks. We'll drop it in the show notes. And like always, until the next time, we love you, folks. Go like, subscribe, engage, share it. Check
Follow.
us out on LinkedIn. Follow, yes, comment, all those things. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Music. All the places for podcasts, YouTube, and tell a friend and tell a friend. And make sure to absolutely.
All right.
I appreciate it. Yes, sir. All right, folks. Hold on too. So